Hello MILOfest, I'm Adam Berenger and I'm the creator of BEEDOCS Timeline 3D. Thank you very much for inviting us to participate in your conference and to be a part of your community. Mac-loving lawyers have been a big part of our story from the very beginning. It was you guys that inspired the idea for the product in the first place. And when I saw the list of attendees and the people that are speaking there, I am familiar with a lot of your names because you've been really supportive of our software since the very beginning 5 years ago. So thank you. We wanted to show you some of the new stuff that I'm working on for some future release of BEEDOCS Timeline 3D. I'm not ready to make an announcement yet. This is not, we don't have any release dates set or prices set, and most of what I'm showing you is going to change before we release it. But I wanted to give you a sneak peek and give you an opportunity to send us feedback and kind of direct how these features are going. Now let me give you kind of a lens to look through before I show you these new features. And this is my vision for BEEDOCS Timeline 3D. And it really comes down to two things. The first one is you have these facts, these historical events, this data, and you want to turn it into knowledge and understanding. And the way that you take facts and then you get to knowledge is by giving those facts context. So the first goal for our software is giving facts context to turn them into knowledge. The second main goal for BEEDOCS Timeline is once you have this knowledge, you want to use it to enlighten an audience. You don't want to just dump the facts on them, but you want to be a storyteller and present this deeper understanding of the events to your audience. So the first thing I want to show you is in that first category, turning facts into knowledge. One of the very best ways to do that is to compare and contrast different categories of events. For example, we have one customer that was working on a medical malpractice case that uses different colors for the events of each person's version of the story. So, for example, the doctor's version of the story would have one color of event, the nurse's version of the story would use a different color, and the patient's story would use a third color. So in this way, all three people are giving their recollection of the same events, and you can compare and contrast where they're the same and where they're different. This kind of thing is a fantastic use for BEEDOCS Timeline or any charting software. So we want to make it even easier to make these kinds of comparisons in the future, which is why we are working on event tagging. Now, tagging is a concept that hopefully is familiar to many of you. It's a popular way to organize things on social media sites like YouTube or Flickr. It's also used by iPhoto. But if you're not familiar with it, it's really easy. Let me show you how it works. You double-click an event in your timeline, and you can assign it any number of keywords or tags. This is a timeline of 19th century poets, and I think for this timeline it would make sense to tag each event by the country the poet is from. So I'm going to tag the American poets with the word American, and I'm going to tag the British poets with the word British. But you could use any number of tags in your events. The powerful thing is once your events are tagged, you can quickly access any of these categories. So let me search for the word American now. You'll see that the poets that I've tagged with the word American are highlighting, and now I can choose a separate color for them. Or maybe I want to take all the British poets and move them into a new event row in my timeline. Or perhaps I want to export my timeline in 3D and I only want to pause on the American poets. So this is a really simple feature, but one that's going to make it a lot easier to compare and contrast different events and get more understanding from the facts in your timeline. The second new feature I'd like to show you is our most popular, our most requested feature, and it has been since the very beginning of the software, and that's web export. The web export has three different views of your timeline. The first one is a chart view. This is that interactive mode where the audience can filter the events or move through them in the order and the pacing they'd like to go through them. The second mode is a list view. This is just a view of all the events in your timeline. This can be searched or sorted. For example, we could filter this by one of those tags we set. And the third view is a movie view. This is the more linear storytelling view, where you, the creator of the timeline, are presenting your story from front to back, and the audience can just sit back and watch the movie. You'll notice that the list view and the movie view both have this strip at the bottom. I call this the time strip. This represents all the events in your timeline. Whether you have 2 or 3 events or over 1,000 events, they'll all be represented by these little lines in the time strip. Now you can hover your mouse over the time strip, and as you pass by an event, you'll see the label and the date. You can click on one and it will select that event, and it'll turn it red. And this allows you to see how the current event you're viewing fits into the whole of your timeline, how it fits into the context. Now the chart view is very simple. You just select an event and you can then see the details of that event. The movie view, again, will show the familiar 3D movie from beginning to end. And what we're working on is a way for you to be able to narrate and add music to this movie, which will make it even more cinematic. But notice that as the movie is playing, that time strip at the bottom is staying in sync with the movie. So you can see the event you're looking at, how it fits into the whole of your timeline. You can also click on the time strip and it'll go exactly to that event in the movie. Now, one of the things that's unique about the web export that we're working on is that this will be one of the most accessible interactive timelines that exists on the web. This will be the first interactive timeline that I know about that does not require JavaScript or Flash or a plugin. It works great. It uses JavaScript and Flash and takes advantage of all the modern technologies, but some customers have those features turned off. Especially corporate customers sometimes will have those features turned off on their browser. And we wanted everybody to be able to see these timelines. So they're very accessible. What perhaps is a little more exciting to this audience is that this will be the first interactive timeline on the web that's optimized for the iPhone. So let me pull up this very same website on the iPhone. I'll just type in the web address here, and you'll see that as it loads on the iPhone, it fits perfectly on the iPhone. It automatically formats itself for the iPhone. You can view it in portrait mode or landscape mode, and it will resize itself. You can touch the time strip on the bottom to go to any event in your timeline and use those arrow keys. You'll see that it has the chart view, the list view, and even the movie view will work on the iPhone. This is a website, but you can save it to your home screen so that it behaves like an application on the iPhone. So you click the plus button at the bottom of the web browser here. And it will save it to your home screen. And now if I open it up, you'll see that it's a beautiful full screen iPhone application. And what this means is that when you're creating timelines and you're posting them on the web for your audience, everybody is going to be able to enjoy and learn from your timelines, whether they're on a super modern browser, whether they're on an older browser that has some of the features like plugins and JavaScript turned off, or even if they're on an iPhone or an iPod Touch. Everybody's going to have a great experience with your timeline. Now, before I close, I just have one more thing. And I'm just going to show you this. I'm not going to talk about it too much. This is our second most requested feature. And that is putting a QuickTime video inside of an event.
I didn't want to wake you up, but I really want to show you something.
So that's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to give you a quick show of that. But once again, thank you very much for inviting Elise and I to participate in MILOfest. We really are thankful for your support over the years. And for the stuff we've shown you today, please send us your feedback. You're the very first people to have seen event tagging, web export, and QuickTime movies embedded in events. And I'd really like to hear how you would use these features, what audience you would be presenting these to. Help us direct these features so that we can make the software as good as possible and help meet your needs. Thanks again. See you later.